But the coaching staff has hit the road, and they've been out traveling. There's a couple new prospects in the fold, but they are looking for a transfer at safety because right now there's only 6 safeties on the roster, and that's an uncomfortable amount when the defense is a safety-driven defense. So on the roster right now, you got Caleb Downs, Lathan Ransom, Malik Hartford, Jalen McClain, Jaden Bonsu, and Leroy Roker. There's a couple of guys out there that the Bucs are talking to in the portal. Cameron Broussard, 6'1", 180. He's from Sacramento State, 2-time FCS All-American. Last year he had 73 tackles, 2 picks, and 5 pass breakups. I couldn't find anything on him from Sacramento State, but I did find his high school stuff. I feel like he definitely could have gone somewhere higher than Sacramento State, for whatever that's worth. But Uncle Chip is going to see him in California. Another potential option is Jaden Magnum from Michigan State. And both of these guys are also visiting Michigan as they need some safety help as well. But, you know, these are depth guys. Like the unnamed SEC director, player personnel said that I quoted the other day, the spring window is nothing but trading backups here, which is kind of a rude way to put it. But that's kind of what's going on here. We're losing backups. We're adding backups because that's the caliber of player that is in this portal window right here. So that's just what it is. Coach Locke went down to Alabama to make a couple offers, maybe visit some family. Who knows? I absolutely loved the hiring of Carlos Loughlin, and he's really showing out in his first cycle here. And it's really looking like Coach Locke just may come in and sign the top 2 guys that were on the Buckeyes board when he got here. That's incredibly impressive. Now, granted, Bo Jackson and Jordan Davison, he had already known them and offered them when he was at Oregon. But he's just really impressive. To be able to come in and do that, I mean, it's just fantastic. He doesn't want to be known as a recruiter. He wants to be known as an excellent coach, and I love that about him. It's I could see how that would irritate somebody. Maybe you feel like the less than coach on the staff because people always say running back coach is the easiest position to coach. It's a recruiting position. So I can see how he'd be irritated by that. But, you know, you can also be an excellent recruiter, and it certainly seems like he is. But if he walks into Ohio State and is able to land the top 2 guys on the board when he wasn't even here until a month ago, I think it's pretty incredible. And I was talking to my buddy Max Torres. So Max Torres, he writes for Ducks Digest, and I had him on the show before. And Ducks Digest is obviously an Oregon publication. Well, he has since switched jobs and started working for On3 as a West Coast recruiting analyst, and he's very in tune to Oregon, and he's excellent. But seeing that Oregon is now in so many battles with us, I think that's a great resource for us. But anyway, he gave me some good news last night, and he told me that Jordan Davison and Oregon, he does not believe is going to happen, which pretty much sounds like Jordan Davison is a Buckeye, and Bill Kurlick also put in a crystal ball for him. So that's fantastic. So this now opens us up to a potential for some future relationships at Mater Dei as well. Also, Chris Henry out there, and getting a potential pipeline to Mater Dei, who's a real factory, would be really nice, as we have not ever had any luck out there. Bo Jackson, he said his 3 official visits to Ohio State, Alabama, and Georgia. Michigan was kind of calling him a must-get after losing Marquise Davis, and that's not going to happen for them, so that's pretty sad. But let's say Coach Locke ends up missing out on Bo Jackson or Jordan Davison. He's still been hustling, working on a backup plan, because that's what a good running back coach does, or any kind of coach. But Byron Lewis from American Heritage is coming in for a visit. That is a Tony Alford offer. He's a top 200 player, the 14th ranked back in the class, 5'11", 200. We've probably all watched him by now. He's sudden, unbelievable balance, gets knocked and slowed up and hits full speed like immediately. Not a very patient guy, kind of a reckless style of running, but he's pretty good. And the Buckeyes are in his final 4, but I feel like he's a long shot as Miami and Florida State are in really big on him. And we don't, unless it's Heartline on the job, when it comes down to us with Florida State and Miami, it's usually pretty dicey. So I think he's a pretty long shot. Anthony Rogers, he's from Alabama, but he goes to IMG. He has been committed to Alabama since Coach Locke offered him just a little while ago, and I think he's a really tough pull. I don't even think he's a possibility. The next tier would be De'Aaron Hill, and De'Aaron Hill, we watched his tape last week. He's a top 100 guy, a little bit of a different style than Bowen Jordan, a little smaller and shiftier. However, I got some bad news on him from Max Torres, as he told me last night that he is sure enough that he is going to Oregon, that he was about to put a crystal ball in for him. So De'Aaron Hill seemingly gone and off the board, and that's a big pickup for Oregon as they get a top 100 overall back. They also got Derek Harmon today, that stud defensive tackle from Michigan State, and they just keep piling on. And we'll review their portal class next week. It's good. It's good. When we talk about the Buckeyes trying to buy a championship, the theme there. And when we stack it up against that Oregon class, I don't think the Buckeyes class is going to be too far ahead of it, to be honest. So following those two guys up would be Shakai Mills-Knight, big nasty bruiser from Memphis, originally from Canada. Moved down to go to high school in Memphis because he was playing football in Canada. But this dude's 6'2", 225 when he's in college, I'm sure. He might even be 230. We've watched him on here. He's nasty. He's a nasty bruiser. He's kind of slow, but, you don't need to be everything. He's a beast, and he brings that physical style that we know Coach Lachlan is looking for. And Isaiah West. So Isaiah West is a guy that Locke just went and visited at Philadelphia St. Joe's, McCord and Marv's school. So this kid was committed to Kentucky, still is committed to Kentucky. And we see Marquise Davis commit to Kentucky. And 2 days later, Coach Lachlan goes and visits him. So I think there's some definite smoke here, though Locke has not offered him yet. But what's clear is he doesn't put his eggs in one basket. He's out there hustling. He's out there making sure he's making moves, lining things up, putting some pressure on the guys at the top. We're Ohio State. We want you, but we're not going to sit and hold pat. He's building more relationships. He's just out there hustling. Exactly what you should do. Exactly what Tony Alford did not do as a running back coach. And it's not just good strategy what Lachlan's doing, but it's effort and it's grind. And to be a great recruiter, you need good strategy, great personal skills, and that grind is probably most important. And we haven't had that from a running back coach in a while, so I absolutely love seeing it. And I think that my initial thought on Isaiah West was probably not so hot because, he's a lower ranked guy, 3-star kid, 500th ranked. And my thought was, all right, Marquise Davis is going to go to Kentucky. And now we're Ohio State going to go in and try and pull the other kid who's not nearly as good. Like, I didn't like the thought of that. Obviously, though, he's just kind of putting this guy in as a backup plan. But then I watched the kid. He's really good, incredibly underranked, and I got a little something on him here. Now, I cherry-picked some of the runs here, but I just wanted to kind of show you guys some of the physical ones because this is why Locke loves him. It's for sure, he's really physical. He's just constantly mixing it up. So this guy's 5'11", 210. And he's at St. Joe's in Philly, and they play a pretty strong schedule. Yeah, just trucking dudes. Love him. And my buddy Dan sent me this picture today. Take a look at this dude. I mean, geez, oh man, look at that quad. So that's Isaiah West. Again, a backup plan, but he's lining them up. And Isaiah West is going to come to Columbus for a visit. Also on the board right now is Jeff Overton. He's still being mentioned, and this one puzzles me. I think that he is a borderline take. And just to be straight up, I don't like borderline takes from out of state at running back. it's always uncomfortable to call someone a borderline take because we're talking about high school players here and it sounds rude and I don't like it. But there are levels of football: D3, FCS, FBS, P4, and then there's Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia. And not everybody is, fits at every level. And I think that's a borderline take in Jeff Overton. There's plenty of players who aren't Ohio State caliber who make it onto an Ohio State roster. We've seen some of them leave in the portal. And, most of them, in some cases, were borderline takes. And I just like borderline takes to be from Ohio, particularly at running back, where there's usually always one. And there is one in this class in Kentrell Reinhardt from Columbus, who does not have an offer. And he would also be considered a borderline take, but he's 3 inches taller, 20 pounds heavier, as fast, and 450 spots ranked better than Jeff Overton. So it's really puzzling to me. I don't really understand it. But he doesn't have an offer, and Jeff Overton does, and Jeff Overton is still on the board. So a little bit puzzling to me. I just think there's some positions that you can always find a borderline guy that's as good in Ohio. And even if that guy isn't panning out, you still have that Ohio influence. He's still bringing you that Ohio culture. It's important for the rivalry. It's important for these guys to know it. It's important when you're trying to teach it to out-of-state kids to have a lot of in-state guys that know it. And that's just my thoughts on it. Don't mean to disparage that young man at all. I just would much rather go with the Ohio one when we're talking about guys who are kind of in the same caliber, who are kind of takes. And that's just all I mean by that. But Coach Locke also offered JaMychal Jones, who is a class of 2026 back out of Alabama. I watched him. He's okay. But then he offered a 2027 kid, really young kid, in Xavier Crowell. And I think this guy is going to be a top 5 back in the class. Really, really phenomenal. So he's getting in there early for him. Chip went to North Carolina and offered Faison Brandon. Faison Brandon is 24/7, their own internal rank, number 1 overall. And the dude is legit. 6'4", 185. He is a massive kid. And when I watched him, this kid he looks like Vince Young when he runs. He's only 15 and he's that size. And he's got a thick neck. I mean, the dude's legit. Really, really high-rated quarterback, and he's fantastic. He attended spring practice last year, and he's probably going to get on campus this summer. So he's got offers from all the bigs already. And I think we can go ahead and add him along with Dia Bell from Heritage as Chip's 2 favorite quarterbacks in this class, and I love them both. Dia told me that Coach Kelly is coming down to see him soon, and he's excited as heck to see him. Dia is an out-of-state kid, kind of like James Peoples, who legitimately grew up a Buckeyes fan, no joke. He shared this photo with me, which I wanted to share with you guys. So that's him at the stadium, right in between Tybus and Dolo Dale when he's a kid in the red shirt. So Dia is a bona fide Buckeye fan. That is from 2014 when his dad, Rajabel, was working for the Cavaliers. So we can officially say that Dia is a Buckeyes fan and an Ohioan. So we're claiming another 5-star, and that's fantastic. Another 5-star out of the Buckeye State, Dia Bell. And Chip's going to see him. Dia's going to join us on the show and tell us how that visit went after he talks to Chip and about his lifelong Buckeye fandom. So I can't wait for that one. But this dude wants to be a Buckeye. That's clear. 5-star, number 3 quarterback in the class. And he's legit. He is really legit. And these guys are young, big kids, man. But Justin Fry went down and offered J.P. Pierre out of North Carolina, 6'5", 305. He's a top 50 overall in the class of 2026. So he's trying to get in early on these guys. And that's good, getting it rolling. He's not as early as Georgia or Penn State or Miami, who all offered him last June. I'm nitpicking here. Or Bama or Tennessee or Auburn or Texas A&M, who offered in February. But, he's trying. One thing that I've noticed that is a little bit maybe under-discussed is when we get these big-time players out of the South, we get in early. If we look at a guy like Caden McDonald, we got in on him before LSU, Alabama, Auburn, Texas, Florida, Clemson. Kenyatta got in on him before LSU, Bama, Georgia, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, FSU, Tennessee. When we get in early, we got a shot to get that, plant the seed that they can come out of the South. They can come up to Ohio State, get everything they want and more before they get entrenched down there. And I really believe that. All except for Aaron Noland. And when I was kind of doing some research on this, it just blows my mind. So Air had all these offers. Ryan Day comes calling, offers him at Ohio State. That was it. Boom, lickety split, done. And I love this dude for that. Ohio State was one of the last schools to offer him. He said, yes, that's where I want to be. Committed almost immediately. A second quarterback comes, transfers in on his class. He keeps a positive attitude. Julian Sand gets all this hype. He's obviously incredibly talented and more advanced at this point than Air, and Air probably knows it. I don't think that I would have handled it anywhere near as well. He's like a grown man, and it doesn't mean Air can't catch him. I'm not selling him short at all. I mean, I think he's fantastic, and the maturity is just off the charts. The way he always wanted to be a Buckeye, it seems, and just really was like, yes, I'm all about it. Doesn't want to leave. The way he chose us, like, I don't forget things like that about players when I root for him. And I think he's really awesome. But I got a little clip of him. So him and Julian were both back home and kind of screwing around in the backyard doing some off-platform stuff. So here's Air, and some people were talking about his throwing motion here, thinking that that's actually how he throws the ball. I mean, these guys are obviously just goofing around in the backyard. But look at his foot there, the way he comes off the ground. It's pretty funny. And Julian was really getting down with some goofy stuff. He's really impressive. There's this one off platform here that's just like, not that one. I love that one right there. That one is slick. Look at that little flick. I mean, he's so good. He is so good. Keenan Bailey was successful in landing Nate Roberts, tight end out of Oklahoma. That was his number one guy on the board. And he landed his number one. That's awesome. I love it. But he was pretty singularly focused on him, and he wants two tight ends in the class. His second-ranked guy and third-ranked guy, we were thinking was Luka Gilbert, who was the number one tight end in Ohio. He committed to Miami. And the other highest tight end was from Indiana, Brock Schott. He committed to Miami. So now he's kind of dropped down because he wants a second one in the class to more developmental guys, and he went to see a couple. So Wednesday, he went to see Brody Lennon, and he's at Gates Mills in, Jesus, I always forget the name of this place, man. Gilmore Academy. Okay, so he goes to see Brody Lennon in Cleveland at Gilmore Academy. We talked about Brody before. I think we watched him a little bit. 6'3", 220. He's a nasty football player, but he's got a lot of weight to gain and kind of a project. He doesn't have an offer yet. And then he went down to St. Xavier in Cincinnati and saw Gordy Solfstead. Gordy Solfstead is a defensive lineman, and he doesn't have an offer yet either. They want him to camp, but this kid doesn't want to wait till camp to decide where he wants to go to school. He wants to decide. He's got some Ivy League offers, so really smart kid. And he's got a Wisconsin offer too. I wouldn't be stunned if he ended up in Wisconsin before he ever made it to that camp. But we'll see. Anyway, we're talking about Ohio borderline guys here, different than Virginia borderline guys here. So I'm all for it. And, we know we need some tight end depth, and we're going to talk about the tight ends on the weekend show. The tight ends have been the discussion of the week around town. And, I think we're going to talk about it together. I got some more thoughts on the tight end. But Keenan Bailey is new, but he's been recruiting for several cycles now. And the way he landed Nate Roberts was awesome. But I feel like he went so all in and so singularly focused that he's kind of in a spot here on his second guy where he's fallen way down the board here. And And Nate Roberts, while I think he's firmly entrenched, it still has the potential, right, to be kind of sketchy. He lives 15 minutes from Norman, Oklahoma, and his brother plays there. You know, I do think he's all the way in, but it is a little scary. James Laurinaitis went down with Keenan Bailey to St. Xavier, and he offered a linebacker, Jacoby Clapper, 6'2", 200, 4-star, 225 overall. There he is right there. Good looking linebacker, really good looking linebacker. Definitely advanced for his age. Sincere Johnson, the best linebacker in the class or in the state in that class, has not been offered yet. That's Sincere. He's out of Glenville and Cleveland. His team is going to be heading down to Columbus to camp soon, and I expect he'll get an offer then, if not sooner. But he's the real deal too. Not sure if he's going to outgrow linebacker by the time he's done in Cleveland. He's really big, but awesome young man, really good dude, really good player. Good friends with Darvell Reese. So, the 24/7 composite, I was taking a look here, and it has an insane 7 out of 30 5-stars are from Georgia in the class of 2025. 7. And only 1 is currently committed to Georgia. 3 to USC, 1 to Bama, 2 undeclared. Can you imagine if we had 7 5-stars in Ohio and only 1 of them was committed to us? 4 somewhere else? I mean, I'd be rioting. I would be absolutely rioting. I can't even believe that.